Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I like interaction with the crowd and with the audience. So I'm going to say good morning. Good morning again. Fabulous. Okay. So before I start, I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause for booking so quickly because it sold out. And so give yourselves a round of applause for being here this morning. All right. I think it's an amazing thing that your university is doing, putting this on, and I feel like you guys should be definitely feel very privileged for that. So today I'm going to be speaking to you guys about being confident in your value until your value speaks for you. I think it's really important that I make that clear is that you all have value, but it's very important that you're confident in that value before it speaks for you. By show of hands, how many of you guys have heard of the statement, fake it till you make it? Okay, fake it till you make it. How many of you guys use that statement, fake it till you make it? You've used it? Right, I'm going to upgrade you, all right? I'm going to upgrade you to say that statement needs to be eradicated from your life. And you should say this after me. So everybody going to say this after me. Be it. Go on. Be it. Until they see it. Be it until they see it. Never use fake it till you make it ever again in your life. Or whenever he's repeating it after me, I love it. But if I'm in the room anyway, so you could use it whenever or whatever. I'm not trying to tell you not to do anything. Okay, so I want you guys to be until they see it. I think it's very important that you understand that you are already a human being. So you are being yourself. And in being yourself, you have value that is intrinsic to you, to your DNA. And in doing that, you are able to transcend the thought mind and bring it into the physical and manifest it in the physical. And in that being said, you need to know that being it till they see it is almost like the story of everybody's life. Okay? So I'm going to start with my own story. I mean, obviously, he's done an introduction for myself, and you guys know where I'm coming from, kind of like an idea of my diagnosis. But I'm going to go way back before the diagnosis so that you are very aware of how this has come about, how I am here, stood in front of you guys, talking about my own story. I wasn't going to go start real way back in diapers. I'm not going to go that far, okay? But I will start from when I came into the country in 2005. So I'm originally Nigerian. I came into the country in 2005 I did A-levels in London. I was in London. And looking back at the school that I went to, I realized that it was a really posh boarding school. I thought that was how things was done, but high tea is not a thing that, everybody does. And now that I came out of London and I came to Liverpool to do my undergrad, I was doing business and communications. Business and communications in itself was a course that I chose, but was I necessarily passionate about it? Give and take, okay? I chose business and communications because that was the next thing that I saw that had media involved in the course. However, most of it was around theory. It was about theoretical media, understanding British cinema, American cinema. And all that thing was great. But in my second year at university, it kind of took me by storm. So here I am, still looking fresh, as I am. And I was basically in second year at university, and I went into the careers department at my university, and I said, I do not know what I want to do with my life. Second year at university, I think second year is a very funny year, and we were speaking about this in the green room, and it was almost like second year is when you start to, you've had the fun of the first year, you've done all the freshers, you've done all that stuff. And then now it's like, okay, what am I actually doing here? What am I actually doing at this university? And in second year, I went to the careers department. I asked them, I don't know what I'll do with my life. Can you please help me out? And, they did a great job asking me questions. What was I passionate about? And I said I was passionate about video. I was passionate about radio because at the point I was part of the radio station at the University of Liverpool, which was Icon Radio back at the time. And then also I was part of the Liverpool student media team as well. But I knew that I had to be practical with what I wanted. So I said, can you guys offer me something that would allow me to practice my creativity? So they gave me different internships, opportunities. But one that stood out to me, obviously, was a BBC internship opportunity. The BBC opportunity was about being part of a mentorship program for about 11 months. And it was paid. I was like, what? BBC internship paid? I was like, of course, I'm applying for this. And that was when the BBC was on Oxford Road in Manchester. Most of you might not remember that. BBC used to be on this road that's right in front of you, right down the road. That is going to be, there's now a car park, I think. I was like, yes, I'm applying for this. And out of 70 people that applied for it, only 9 could get it. And I was one of the 9. And I was on the moon. This was a couple of us who were at the BBC Mentorship Project. And I put this picture here because it actually signifies we were the 4 youngest people in the project, and everybody else were quite older. And you can tell why the picture was the way it was. And if you know anything about this guy in the middle, his name is Gordon Burns. He was a TV reporter for the BBC News, and he was a celebrity to us. And probably most of you would not know who he is right now, but it was so cool to be there. But I put this picture up here because I wanted you guys to know that every one of us in here have a significant job or are doing something in the industry. Okay, so the first one who is on the right here is Jamal. You might know it, but he's an ITV journalist and a presenter. So whenever I see him on ITV News, I'm always quite fascinated that he actually is doing what he wanted to do. He started off as a cameraman, and now he is doing that. You got Joe over there. He works at Warner Music's Group, and he is basically a commercial manager at Warner Music Group. He was a beat maker when I met him. He made music, and that was where he wanted to go to. And then we've got James, who is a writer, a senior writer at TNT Games. They make the Lego games. So they basically make all the Lego Star Wars games, and he does all that stuff. And it's crazy because, and there I am, you know, over here running a creative industry or creative company. And I look at this picture and I think, I remember what we were talking about back then. We were just like, oh, we're in the industry, and we're the 4 youngest people. They were like, these guys are loose cannons. What are they doing in here? And I was just, you know, finding myself. So in the midst of this rose, okay, this was a rose in my life, okay? This was a beautiful moment in my life. There was a thorn in my flesh, okay? At that moment, I was having a lump at the back of my neck. Right now in this picture, I had a lump at the back of my neck. And I did not know what that was. I was like, what is going on with this? Why am I having this lump at the back of my neck? And in my mind, I was like, this is a bit of, it's messing up my freshness a little bit. And I was like, I need to get this sorted. And my girlfriend at the time kind of compelled me and said, just go to the doctors and see what's happening. And then I went from specialist to specialist. They didn't know what it was, did loads of blood tests, and they just didn't know what it was. And in this moment, you know, you're starting to think of the worst. And we finished our internship at on September 2009. And in December 2009, I had a doctor's appointment after a biopsy. And it went a little something like this. Do you have anyone with you at this appointment? I'm thinking, yeah, my girlfriend's outside. And then he said, you might want her to be in the room. And then I thought to myself, when they say something like this, they're about to drop something really heavy. My heart starts beating. My heart starts racing. And I'm thinking, okay. Went back outside and say, they might need you to be in the room with me. And she looks at me, she says, what do you think it can be? Or what would it be? And I was like, I don't know. It sounds like something heavy. Walk into the room, we sat down, says a couple of things, and he says, the test for your biopsy is back. It's come back positive for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Then I'm sat back and I'm like, what is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma? I knew nothing about that. And then he says a couple of words. He says it's a type of cancer. And then he muffles a couple of more words, and I couldn't even hear anything else. He's floated out of my skin, and I was just like, my life is over. You hear the C word, you think of death. It changed my whole life. as you would when you get diagnosed with cancer. It's still changing my life to today. Those 20-minute conversation, those seconds that I spent with the doctor changed my whole life. And that's kind of was the genesis of why I am here talking to you guys today. So after this rose, a thorn came in. And with that, I was being supported by a charity called C.I.C. C.I.C is a charity called Young Lives vs. Cancer right now. I'm an ambassador for them, so I speak for them in fundraising events because of the amazing work they did for me. So remember, I'm an international student at this point, no family in the country, and these people are coming in to support me throughout my chemotherapy treatment. They support me through loads of different ways. They gave me some funding, some money to go for my treatments when I was going through chemotherapy. But one thing they did also offer me was the opportunity to be creative. So they offered me creative workshops with other cancer patients. And we called ourselves the Avengers because we were coming together, making music, being creative, with media. And that was it. I was passionate about the production of media. Now I've seen the power of the process of being creative in media. And I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but I don't know what it's going to look like. And then in 2010, this was me after my last chemo treatment, still smiling, still looking fresh. And it kind of changed my perspective. So I've put this picture right next to this picture, because this guy and this guy, two different people, but still with the same passion. And what happened was that with this now, I was able to then learn a lot more about my life. I won't be here forever, but the definition of my life will be between my birth date and my death date. And when I was supported by this charity called C.I.C, I still sped up 2 years later down the line. I did my master's in marketing. I worked for digital marketing agencies, 3 of them. And all these things still built everything that I'm still doing today. They were not experiences that went amiss, but it were things that built me to this point. And so Freshrb was made. Freshrb happens to be a company at the moment of being formed to raise the awareness of cancer. And we were built on that motive, which is we're going to use video as a tool to serve the community, but also to create stuff around the awareness of cancer. And then I met Kundwani, who sat over there. He's my business partner. And we had similar stories. And his diagnosis was with ME. So he got diagnosed with ME, which is also known as chronic fatigue syndrome, at his final year at university. And he was studying chemical engineering. We were in a position whereby we said, okay, let's see how this works with you as well. And then we started making some podcasts, making some videos, and we realized that it transcended cancer. It was for everyone. And so fast forward to today, that's what we do. We get commissioned by the NHS to do a lot of work for them. We get commissioned by universities to do some work with you guys. And everything is so simple. We keep it simple. It's between media and health. So that's my story. And I feel like being confident in your value until your value speaks for you is now something that I want you guys to start thinking about for yourself. But in order to be confident in your value, you have to be smooth like water with the 2 R's. And as you can see, this is an acronym for something I'm going to leave you guys with, okay? So I want you guys to think about water in its full element. So in an ocean, it's so fluid but it works together, okay? Water in itself is very strong. Without water for 40 days, or without water for 3 days, sorry, you can't survive. So you have to be like water to yourself, okay? And I know you've heard this so many times, but the W in water stands for your why, okay? Your why. You probably heard know your why, but I'm going to teach you a different thing about this why. This is something unique. You have to know your why that is embedded in your DNA. Self-discovery. Understand yourself as an individual and what is your why for moving on. What has happened on my journey is that I was finding out my why from within, but also I was having conversations with people without. And that allowed me to then align the information that I was seeing without and align it with the within. All right? So what I want you guys to know is you have to constantly engage with this question of your why. The reason why your why is very important is because it allows you to start something, but it's also the fuel that will keep you going. And I love the fact that I use water, and trust me, I just came up with this for this talk. All right, it's not something I've been using before. I actually came up for this talk, and it's basically, it is the life source for you to keep going. And then it would allow you to be able to benchmark your successes on based on your why. Being of impact to the community has been something that has been in my heart even before I got diagnosed with cancer. But one thing that's important in how I benchmark my success is in fulfillment in making money. I'm not talking to people and talking about a hobby here. This is a business, but it's about fulfillment in making money, but also impacting community in a positive way. If I'm making money and I'm not making an impact, I do not want it. If I'm making an impact, the money will follow. It's just the way things go. And I want you guys to think about this in your mindsets. You are here for a reason. You're booked onto this for a reason. And those who are watching too as well, you're not left alone, okay? You are actually watching this live. And it's important that you understand that the why is the fuel that keeps you going, okay? Now, you're probably wondering, what is the A? Action. But not action without an end goal. It's what we call bite-sized actions leading to an end goal. You can't achieve everything in one day. You can't achieve everything in 2 days. And trust me, if you could achieve everything in 2 days, it's probably not worth achieving anyways, okay? So you have to take bite-sized actions. From the beginning of when we started, believe it or not, we was filming weddings. We were filming weddings, but it was still in the field of what we believed in, which was media. And honestly, it was therapeutic because filming a wedding, seeing two people in love, make sure you get the first kiss because you can never get it again. But the important thing was that you got to give them something that meant a lot to them for the rest of their lives. We don't film weddings again. We will never film weddings again. But it was a good time in our lives to keep the lights going, okay? And one thing we did learn was to get better at our skill set as well in video production. But we took bite-sized action. I tell you that story because we were taking bite-sized actions into what we felt we should be doing. I mean, it was not until 2021 till we got commissioned by the NHS to do some projects for them. And this is taking, that's probably like 8 years of running. But we believed in what we were doing, and we were doing projects within ourselves as a community or as a company with the community. And with that value, they started to understand what we were about, and then it preceded us. Trust me, the value of what I bring to the table is still not seen yet. And you are just with us as we clock in a decade. So we've been running for 10 years. And one thing is important is that we still have a lot more in the tank because we understand the why. So now we move on to the next thing, which is the track record. That's the T. It's important to keep track record of everything that you do. Track record for yourself. Simple. Take pictures of whatever you do. And reflect on this. Look back on it. And look at what you've achieved in a space of time. It would allow you as an individual to see how far you've come. Do not negate this part because it's really important that you do this. It's not a pride thing, but it's to look back on what you've achieved and the lives you've touched. So track record is really, really important. Now, the first R, which is not supposed to be there, is reflect. Reflect and celebrate the work you've done in the community. Even if it has to do with anything, it doesn't even have to be in the community, because I know not everybody wants to run a company like that. It has to do with media and health. But whatever you do, reflect and celebrate it. For us, we make short films around health conditions, and that's our way of celebrating it when we do a screening. We celebrate it with people with like-minded people, giving people the opportunity to test out their acting skills, but then on the same hand, the filming skills, but then on the same hand, we're raising awareness for a health condition. We're currently making a web series at the moment, which is around men's mental health. And we did a screening last year, and it was fantastic. And we are looking forward to doing more around that. So it's basically one of the things that I feel like is important that you do is to reflect and celebrate. And then the last one, which always seems to be a bad word when people think about it, is repeat. Repeat. Repeat is one of the things that allows people to become GOATs. Okay? You have the greatest of all time. We saw Messi in the World Cup doing what he did best, and that's because his repetition was immaculate. You have to find something you're willing to repeat. If it's not worth you repeating, then you have to go back to your why. Okay? If you find something that you love repeating constantly, then you now look back on your why and see why you keep repeating it. If it's a positive why, it will eventually have a positive outcome, and then you keep repeating it. Repeat is an amazing word for whatever vocation, whatever career, whatever path you're thinking on going on. Something you like to repeat constantly. And allow yourself to flow like water. So the W is your why. The A is bite-sized actions. Actions. The T, track record. The R, reflect and celebrate. And then the last R, repeat all over again. And for me, that's what's got us to this point in the ability to be confident in the value before the value starts to speak for us. And the truth be told is, as I said, the value is speaking. It's still in the process of speaking. We have these three things as a mantra in our company. We call it the mission, the movement, and then the culture. We're still in the movement. The first 10 years was establishing the mission. We're now in the movement, and we believe that there is going to be a culture of people using media as a tool to engage with health conditions, constantly knowing the power of the production of media. So, I'm going to leave you guys with this guy over here. That was me at 24 when I set up the company, and this is me right now in the last year. The story's still the same. I'm just getting bolder now. And what I wanted to do at the start was basically use media as a tool that impacts culture in a very unique way, but is of benefit to people. The difference now is I've kept it simple. It's just media and health. Whatever you will find fulfillment in will be simple to you. It will be simple to you. It's not complicated. If a salesman comes to you and try to overcomplicate stuff, it's probably not worth you buying. All right? So I will leave you with this, and I will leave you with repeating this after me again. Okay? So let's chant it like we mean it. Be it. Be it. Till they see it. Thank you very much.